This is Beyond the Books. I'm your host, Mohammed Ali Kama, and today my co-host is
Zakaria.
today's podcast I'm really excited about because this is really close to my subjects. Today we have Rayan with us for mechanical engineering, and he's actually an alumni from our school. So we might have similar teachers, so he can really tell us how to go from Harlington to the real places we want to go. A lot of students from Harlington are going to be watching this, so we can get really good insight from a past student from there. Hi, Rayan.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah, perfect,
Doing
man.
fantastic.
Now, could you just give an introduction to everybody watching? What do you do? What degree? What etc.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Ryan. I did physics, maths, and IT at Harlington, and then proceeded to do mechanical engineering at City St George's now, City St George's University of London. I just graduated about a week ago, so I'm essentially officially done, and I'm just looking at essentially just browsing for masters and stuff for now. But yeah.
Fair enough. Let's start from the beginning. GCSEs wise, is just someone have to be particularly good at some subjects in GCSE to take mechanical engineering in the future? And even at A levels, like you did physics, maths, and IT, could you do it with a different type of subset? How good does that look?
That's a very good question. To be fair, for me, my GCSEs got cancelled because of COVID. I was the year that got unlucky. But I would say, from what I remember, I've had a couple of friends who essentially did different subjects and still ended up with the same degree or the same. So I had a couple of friends who did geography, a couple of friends who, but I think the baseline that you need to have at least is maths. The grade doesn't really matter essentially. When I say that, I do mean it lightly, as in, so long as you get something above a 5 or a 6, your journey might be longer, but you'll still end up reaching where you need to go. I had a couple of friends who didn't reach the grade boundary to do A-level maths, but they ended up going through college, which just essentially allowed them to do a BTEC and then still end up in the same position as me 2 years later. So yeah, so I would say whether it's double science or triple science, it doesn't really matter. So long as you're passionate about the topics that you want to choose for A level or for uni, then that essentially I think is the deal breaker.
I completely agree. We have friends. I remember results to GCSE time. You open a result, you got the grade, your friend didn't. Now there's this awkwardness of like, what happens now? Because you're excited, but you're also, you have some emotion for your friend as well. Like they should do as well. And a lot
Yeah,
of our friends didn't get the grade in maths, and they had to go to different colleges. But again, the journey is different for everybody, right?
100%.
They're still studying mathematics, and actually they're putting in more effort because now they have
Of
something to
course.
prove, not to themselves but to other people as well, which you should always look at for yourself. But I'm just saying that is also a thing.
So even though we didn't do our GCSEs, we still had results day. We still had to go in, although with masks and social distancing, and we had to do a COVID test 2 days before. But I remember a couple of my friends also didn't get the grades. I remember we opened up the results. One of my friends got a 6, I got a 7, and it was that kind of what do we do now? Exactly what you said. But I think I remember before we got our results, we both had like a backup plan involved. So we both had, I guess you can say a college, another sixth form college that required lower grade boundaries. Both of us had them ready. So I guess what you can come out of that is that so long as you're prepared for anything before, then you're good.
What drew you first into mechanical engineering?
Why mechanical engineering?
Okay, that's a good that's a good question. What drew me into mechanical engineering was, I guess, my love for just finding out how things work. Like, it's as cheesy as it sounds, just, from the young age of just seeing a train pass by or a car. I was a big fan of Top Gear growing up and, planes as well, because so I was just sat down and just, I remember, I think this was GCSE time when there was COVID, and I was thinking about what career path I should choose. Engineering was definitely what drew me in, but I would say the reason I chose mechanical was because it was kind of an umbrella for all these different types of disciplines. If you do mechanical engineering, if you do a master's that's specialized, you can essentially go into any path you want. I mean, I would say it's still the same for any type of engineering discipline. A lot of the common misconception about it is that if you do one degree, you're going to stick with it for the rest of your life. You can play around with it. Once you get your degree, I have so many friends who actually went on to do masters in finance, a masters in biomedical sciences, some people. So it's very like open, and that's what really attracted me to that degree.
Fair enough. Now I know a lot of students like, I think the star engineering is aerospace engineering. People just see
Hmm.
that they're like airplanes, aircrafts, military. And yeah, that's fair, but Mechanical engineering is, I would say, second. Like in like favoritism, I had a lecture at Imperial, and they basically was a mechanical engineering lesson, and the professor literally changed the way I think about mechanical engineering. First, before I was like, what even is mechanical engineering? And then he made a cup of tea while explaining how air bubbles form underneath cargo ships, and that reduces their friction. And then he took the steam tank, placed it on top of the tea, and then it moved, and he started explaining a lot of other stuff. And me and my other friend, we went and we were just like, okay, I didn't even know mechanical engineering was this. Now, in like the most simplest way, what is mechanical engineering?
It's the study of moving parts, I would say. I think that's the most simplest form of describing it. The moving or the study of moving parts. That's it. I would say whether that's to do with air that's moving or whether that's actual mechanical parts, whether it's friction or whether it's all these different things that can change how something moves or how fast it does. I think that's what encompasses mechanical engineering. Yeah, I would say there's a common misconception about mechanical and aeronautical being quite different, but they're very, very similar. So a lot of my classmates, a lot of my friends that I still stay in contact with did aeronautical engineering. We studied essentially 6 out of 7 modules, or maybe 5 out of 7 modules, the same for the duration of those 3 years of my degree. Because the only difference is we study more thermodynamics and fluid mechanics. They're more into aerodynamics. So where they kind of study the actual airflow. And we kind of study, although we do study the airflow, it's not concentrated into air, but it's more fluids in general. And I think that's what differed between me and my aeronautical, classmates.
So basically, what we're trying to say is mechanical engineering is the best because we cover all three
Of
mediums.
course, of course. I may be biased, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Now that's wonderful. Now in uni, what did your like week look like? Like how much study were you doing? How much like leisure with your friends? Like what was it for people who want to do mechanical engineering?
I would say it really varies between year to year. It changed a lot. First year, it was kind of like a big shock where people were kind of like you were overwhelmed by the amount of people walking by and amount of your classmates that you have and from different study backgrounds, different, like some people did BTech, some people did A level, some people did were working before, some people took a gap year, and it's all these mixture of students that like are maybe not the same age as you, so it felt a bit of a shock at first, and then the classrooms were felt infinitely more different, especially during first year, because as you said, you go from a classroom. I mean, from what I remember, my physics class had about 6, 7 students, and then my maths class had about 15 on average. So it felt a big shift from going into a very small class to a huge number of students in the same place. I would say it feels like you're completely independent, like no one's watching you, like no one's telling you what to do. That could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing depending on how you are as a person. I remember in first year I did try really hard in terms of like studying and stuff, and then as first year went by I was like, okay, well maybe I need to chill because I don't need to try that hard. I would say second year was the hardest in terms of everything. So for engineering and I think STEM subjects in general, second year is usually the hardest because I would say it's the hardest in terms of topics. So you actually have to study really hard subjects that are completely new, because first year is just getting everyone into the same level in terms of like the content wise. But then second year comes along and it's like completely new topics, new content. It's really hard, and they they have I guess unis have a tendency of pushing all these assignments at the same time, and there's always this block of assignments in January, and then there's this block of assignments in like April time. And then after that, you get about a month of revision time, and then you get pushed into exams. So I would say second year was the hardest. It was the year that I think me and other students did the most all-nighters. And then third year, the content is still hard, but it became infinitely more chill. Like it was only 3 days a week, sometimes even two. So it was way more chill. But yeah, that's how I would say it felt.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I see. So, what does mechanical engineering cover? Because it's quite the umbrella term, right?
For you, what were the top five that you like loved? Like that was
Yeah.
like you
Okay,
wanted.
okay. So I would say my top topics were what I really enjoyed doing was thermodynamics, actually, especially the study of engines. So we did actually get to study different types of cycles of engines. So there was diesel cycles and Carnot and all of that. I would say I wouldn't get into too much detail, but it's mostly the studying of engines and how their cycles are. I really enjoyed mechatronics. So mechatronics, a lot of people think it's to do with robots essentially, which it can be, but it's mostly the study of how a system goes. It's the study of systems essentially. So you have an equation, a governing equation, and that equation has to do with how something is damped, how something is, how much spring constant it has. So it's all these different things because if you look into a component, for example, a train or a car, they all have these different spring systems and different bodies where you essentially have to measure that kind of spring constant and how much it's damped. Because essentially, if you're in a car, for example, all those bumps that you have to go through in the road, it's not really reflected inside of the car. So all of that is actually some type of mechatronics. I would say another thing I really enjoyed was the design component. So there was a part of our degree where we had to essentially design from scratch a ping pong ball launcher, and that's
Ping pong.
yeah, so really random, I know, but so essentially we had to use CAD, more specifically SolidWorks, which was a software where you design these things, and as well as you had to do these calculations on how the ball and how the trajectory of the ball is going to affect the design, and you have to design the tube. So it was proper from scratch. They didn't give us that much. They just said, all right, these are the phases that you need to follow. You get 2 sheets of acrylic that you're allowed to cut, design away. And it was a year-long project. So I really liked it because it kind of simulated essentially what a workplace design would be. And so yeah, I would say those were my top three. I don't know if I can think of much because usually each year there's the way it works for us anyways, there's always thermodynamics 1, thermodynamics 2, thermodynamics 3. So it's kind of like just a continuation of what we studied.
So you mentioned the term CAD before, but I've never heard of it, and I don't think a lot of other viewers would probably hear of it. So do you mind explaining what CAD is?
Yeah, of course. So CAD stands for computer aided design. So it's a type of, essentially, it's just a type of software where you can design, systems or bodies, or so essentially, if you had a product, if any product that you own has definitely went through some type of CAD software, because it allows you to, a lot of CAD softwares allow you to simulate how those things can go as well. Yeah, the software that we mostly used was SolidWorks. That was kind of a general use, so everyone can, if you know how to use SolidWorks, you build enough skills to be able to use different softwares that different companies can use. It's not with these type of softwares, CAD and CAM. So CAD is computer aided design, CAM is computer aided manufacturing. Those type of softwares, different companies use different ones, and essentially in uni they just teach you how to learn or how to use the most basic one, and then the higher you go or wherever you go, you just learn the software that they use.
So with those types of mechanical engineering, could you explain what is soft engineering?
Soft engineering. I've never heard of that before.
Soft
Could you
robotics.
software?
Soft robotics.
Soft robotics.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that term before. I've never heard of soft robotics being used before.
Let's skip that then.
Let's skip it.
Yeah, let's skip that.
It's one of the questions, but
Yeah, well, I have one question. Like, CAD and CAM, I've heard a lot about it. I did an internship in an architecture company, and we used to use it quite a lot. I just want to see, because in architecture companies, we use CAD majority of the times. But in engineering, do you use CAD more or CAM more? Or is it like a mixture of it?
It depends on how much of the product you're going to use is going to be manufactured, if that makes sense. So essentially, CAM is used to make sure that a certain product is going to be essentially, because it's going to be manufactured effectively. So if I can design a system, I can design a product, but once I 3D print it, for example, sometimes the 3D printer is not going to print it properly. It's going to, dollop everywhere and all of that. So with the CAM, you just make sure that you can, I guess, specify which type of product it is, which type of manufacturing techniques it's going to be, and then it can then adjust to resolution or kind of build temporary structure, or you can build temporary structures that will allow it to print effectively. So I
And
think that's the main difference.
do you use Fusion 360?
No, I had a friend who was really keen on using Fusion 360,
Uh,
but I've heard of it. So I've used AutoCAD
okay.
during my first year, and then we switched to SolidWorks. But I
Mhm.
think civil engineers were more of AutoCAD users. But no, I used mostly SolidWorks. Yeah, there was other softwares that I used after, but
Yeah, because for a project, I was building something with a 3D printer, and used 123 design is specifically for that 3D printer, and then someone advised me to use Fusion 360, dabble in that a little bit, and they're good softwares. Like CAD, I've tried a little bit as well. These are good software, especially if you can get your hand used to it. Like you can really take the benefit out of them. The I'm gonna transition to the next question. In aerospace, like at Imperial, I've talked to some people, and the first year they make like a wind turbine, second year a drone, third year they build like a section of a plane, and fourth year there's like something else, right? In mechanical engineering, what is like other than the ping pong launcher, which is sick? What other projects like have you done that excite you?
So first year we built a wind turbine.
Okay.
So essentially, it was I think it wasn't necessarily limited to just mechanical. It was all these different engineering disciplines that chose that project, where you had to build the tower itself, and as well as then there will be a team that works on the gearbox, and then there will be another team that works on the actual blades itself.
Hmm.
And then for second year, obviously the ping pong ball launcher. And then we also had the workshop. I think it was a 1 or 2 day workshop where we fully deconstructed an engine, a 1 cylinder engine. It's only 1 cylinder, but we managed to essentially, they made us deconstruct it completely and then reconstruct it again. And then for the third year, it was back to actually designing a wind turbine, but like from the aerodynamics perspective. And that was in collaboration with aeronautical students. So my team consisted of 3 aeronautical and 3 mechanical engineering students.
Hmm.
But then we also, it was it was a small project because most people were working on their dissertation project. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now for the wind tunnel, did you test in like a, oh no, for the wind turbine, did you test in like a wind tunnel?
Yeah. So for first year, they didn't really test it in the wind tunnel. They just brought a huge fan that they put in a lecture hall, and
Yeah.
essentially they started putting weights on it, and whichever
Okay.
one resisted the most weight won. My one during its preliminary designs did break, but then I fixed it, and then during the final it started shaking, and a lot of people got scared. They were like, "Oh my God, why is it shaking? It might fall over." But we all know that in engineering, when something starts to shake, it's good because, well, not all type of shaking, but if it's doing these small tremors, it's kind of distributing that weight rather than just snapping. So
Like normally, when like a thing doesn't shake, that means all the strain's gonna go to one section and it's just gonna snap instead of really shaking.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I think mine during when it first snapped, it snapped from the base.
Okay.
And it just snapped. Like it was a lot of moment was being applied to its top, where the weight was hooked, and it just snapped towards the weight.
Uh-huh.
Um,
How did you
but
fix that?
how did I fix it? I essentially cut off the damaged wooden strands because it was made out of kind of like long wooden strands that you would essentially glue together. I cut off essentially the broken ones and then just doubled it down,
Fair enough.
and that seemed to work. It passed.
What practical skills would a mechanical engineering student need to have for a job?
Practical skills.
Like even students, programming is a very, I would say,
Yeah.
everybody should, system-wise, everybody should learn a little bit of programming just because it's gonna be everywhere.
Mm,
Like even in robotics, any type of engineering you do, you're gonna have some sort of programming in it.
definitely. Absolutely. I would say for a practical skill that an engineer would need, because it's so, I would say definitely to learn some type of CAD,
Mhm.
just how to at least know how you design, how you rotate an object, how you actually can build even just these simple objects. Coding. So for us, it was mostly MATLAB, which was a more engineering related coding
I've heard of it.
software. That's what I used for my final project, and a lot of students did as well. Funnily enough, the new cohort, so just after us, where the my degree kind of got refurbished, they did Python. So Python could also be a very, very good shout to learn.
Mhm. Especially as a beginner. Python is
Definitely,
perfect for me.
definitely. Other practical skills, I would say, is just you. I think those are the majority because everything else you learn in the job
Mhm,
that you go to, there's a lot of other skills that the degree teaches you.
mhm,
I would say from my experience, teamwork, communication, you get a lot of teams sometimes where they have members that are not proactive at all,
yeah,
and you might get one or two essentially dead students where they don't do anything, and you
yeah,
have to kind of learn how to engage with them. You learn a lot of, time management skills. I know it might sound a bit weird, but essentially you learn how much time you have to spend for each um, assessment or for each question or for each assignment so you don't affect the next one. I would say you learn a routine. If you actually stick to your, timetable and you actually come in every day, you learn a routine which is essentially simulating how you'd work in a job. You learn how to critically think. That's one thing that an engineer would definitely learn, or any type of STEM topic, especially mathematics or computer science or engineering. You learn how to solve and fix a problem. So essentially, a lot of these questions, they give you a bunch of numbers and they give you a scenario, and you have to bring all those numbers that they've given you, and calculate a solution. And so it does rewire your brain. From my experience, it kind of, every time you approach a problem, even in real life, you always start to think numerically or solution based. So I'd say that's one of the things that it really teaches you to do, is to think critically in any
mhm.
type of STEM topic, but engineering specifically.
Now, student-wise, if someone's in like, let's say GCSE slash A levels, let's say they finish year 11, they have free time. Let's say they finish year 12, they have free time,
Yep.
but kind of no, because year 13's coming. But other than that, what should side projects maybe perhaps, or what should they do, or any programs they could do, just if they want to clear their idea, if they want to even do engineering, or if they're already passionate about it and they can do this to just, increase their personal statement, get them in a better university.
That's a very good question. I would say get involved with possibly external projects, right? If you can find some type of workshop or some type of seminar or some type of volunteering work, because unis, from my experience, the higher up unis, they usually like someone who, the best way to put it is has a life, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to relate to education. It can be something that you are passionate about. So you can manage a workshop for 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds in terms of doing, I don't know, jujitsu or some type of activity. You can volunteer in a charity shop, you can volunteer in a food bank. All these different things, they want you to have a life. If you're just only going to talk about education, academia, education, they're not going to be that attracted, from what I've heard. So yeah,
Fair
that's what
enough.
I would advise. Do some extra stuff.
What misconceptions do people have about mechanical engineering? Is there is it just all engines, 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 or is there more to it than what people actually think?
We only studied engines for half a year during second year. The rest was honestly, energy is everywhere. That's something that I think comes up everywhere in every single module. Now that I think of it, energy is the main topic. Whether you're studying about sustainability, whether you're thinking about structural mechanics, whether you're thinking about thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, mechatronics, electronics, energy is the main topic. I would say that's the, whether it's different types of energies, that's generally what the I would say the similar theme across mechanical engineering. I would say a couple of misconceptions that I've heard is that, do we have a life? Do we see the light of day? Do we touch grass? Stuff like that. But I would say if you know how to manage your time, yes, you'll be able to. From my experience, although all of us like to complain about how much work we did, and it may be more compared to other topics and other subjects, it really isn't that bad.
Yeah.
If you stay on top of it, like a lot of my classmates did, if you stay on top of it and if you have your time sorted effectively, I don't think you'll actually be impacted that much.
Mhm.
But a general thing that I've noticed among students is that we all love to leave things till last minute, and it does come and hit us back during the exam period.
Now, for students who do that, well, I think majority of students who do that, how could you prevent that? How could you, like, procrastination wise, like how could you stop yourself from, or even improve it? Like, I know procrastination is kind of natural thing.
Mm.
Sometimes people just don't know how to do work. But how can someone reduce that effect?
Listen, if I knew the answer, I would tell you myself. I would follow that advice myself. But I would say one thing that did help out the most was to set an environment that is dedicated to work. From my experience, and it could be different depending on the person, I didn't like working from home because I was around a lot of distractions, like my computer, I can just start gaming, or like my PlayStation is quite close and all of that. So I found it the most effective to just stay in the library at uni because you kind of feel like bullied or peer pressured without anyone saying anything by other students because you see everyone studying, so you feel like you need to study as well.
Mhm.
I would say bring your friend along, but I wouldn't advise that because if you bring your friend along, they'll essentially be like, "Do you want to go and get some food?" And then everybody's just
Yeah,
like deciding to leave, and you get no studying done. So you have to be alone. You have to go up to a silent area where you can't talk. You're essentially you can. To be fair, there's been times where I've done that, and I would take my phone and start scrolling on TikTok. But you look up and you see where you are. You're like, okay, I need to carry on revising.
fair enough.
So you do feel a bit of pressure from the environment that you're in. A lot of unis, including mine, their libraries are tiered in regards to how quiet or how loud you can be. So
Mhm.
for us, it started from the second floor of the building all the way up to the sixth floor. So second floor would be community where you can talk and have these proper discussions where you don't have to be quiet. Third floor is that you can have whispered conversations, although that's usually not the case. From fourth to sixth floor is complete silence. So you would hear a pen dropping or someone coughing, and that's how quiet it is.
I think for procrastination specifically, it's difficult, but again, the people you surround yourself really affects you. Like
Definitely.
like there's this saying, the five people you hang around with the most, you're like a mixture of them, right?
Yeah.
Now studying together does lead to some bad things. I've realized, even though my friends, my five closest friends, of course, Zachary Abbar as well, are academically more passionate about getting better grades. Basically, they're more academically focused. But when we sit together and study, most of the time,
Yep.
nothing happens. Nothing happens. But the thing is, because we hang around with each other and we know everybody's striving for good, when you come home, you're like, yeah, I need to stay up on my work because Zach's staying up on his work. Oh, he's staying up on his work. So I need to stay with that. So even though
And I'm not.
even though when you're together, we're not really working that much, but I think friends really matter as well. Just academics.
100%. I was going to get to that. I would say a lot of people focus on uni about study, when yes, it's important, but at the end of the day, everything that I look back into is the memories that I have with my friends, and so especially during the last couple of weeks of our uni, everyone decided to come to uni and we did nothing sometimes. There would be times where we would all just be sitting around the table, joking around, having food, talking, and there would be no studying taking place. But I would go back home and I would feel no regret because at the end of the day, those are the uni is the time where you kind of actually are able to do that without feeling that guilty. The truth is, we knew everyone was going to study, as you said. Everyone, when they went home, they will kind of realize, crap, I need to study because I need to go and do that exam. But I think it really is about balance, as cheesy as it sounds, as cliche as it sounds, you need balance. So you can have maybe 5 hours. This is what I used to do, and what a lot of my classmates used to do. We would go up to the silent areas and stay there for about 2, 3 hours, do some proper locked in work. And then after like the fourth hour where we kind of get burnt out, go downstairs to the third floor and we would all sit together and kind of just like joke around and laugh about, maybe study a bit, but that anything we would study there would just be a bonus.
Fair enough. I think again, I would rather do less time, more focused work than just sitting at my computer for 8, 9 hours a day, right? Because time doesn't correlate with good grades. And I know a lot of students make that fact. They're like, yeah, man, I didn't sleep the whole night. Why is the whole night? I'm gonna get 100%. But I'm like, do you remember the stuff?
Mm.
You haven't had every single time, I always prioritize sleep first. And that's like my go-to. Even if some of my content I haven't finished yet, I sleep, wake up early for Fajr, and then I just revise. I've realized without sleep, I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail. Silly mistakes. Every bad thing's gonna happen in the
I
exam.
wish I had that mentality. I've gone to exams in uni with no sleep and I just did the exam with no sleep. I there's been a couple of times for 2 exams during second year where I stayed at uni for the whole night revising because that module nobody knew anything and we were all kind of just said, you know what, we gotta just lock in for like the last day. So now that I look back at it, yes, that did save my grade, but sleeping is very important. 100%. I would say my advice for A-level students, because I feel like a lot of your viewers are A-level students. I remember during my time at A-level, I used to go to just the library. So any library I used to go to, I used to treat it as like a 9 to 5 job. This was my main motto. Treat it as a 9 to 5 job. So let's say I went into school and I had a class for 2 hours and then I had a free period. I would have lunch during that free period, and then I finish at 1 and then I can go home. Instead of going home, I just take the U4 bus to Botwell Green Library, or if I was feeling fancy, I would go all the way to Oxbridge itself and spend until closing time. Like the staff members used to know me because I used to be the last person to leave the library.
Crazy.
And it really did help. It really did help because then you go home and you just do whatever you want, as well as I didn't used to study in weekends. So if you can, my advice to A-level students, if you can create a schedule where you don't revise during the weekends and you study quite well during weekdays and you start relatively early, I promise you, you'd get really good grades. That's one thing I'll
Uh,
say.
Probably, I agree with that. Because like a lot of students, I think they're really just because A level is a little bit more pushed towards self learning.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
full self learning, but A level was trying to bring you there. And I think that was probably the hardest thing I found. I used to just think of it this way: I go to school to learn. In the sense, from the morning till like when the school's over, full focus, just focus, breaks, lunch, whatever. And then after I come home, I don't revise because it's my free time. But now in A level, you really have to kind of do it yourself
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
home, and that needs a shifting for especially people who didn't really revise
100%.
that much like that for that. But I think that's just preparing us for
Of
university at
course.
that point.
I mean, when you go into uni, you don't learn anything.
Hmm.
When I say that, you go into a lecture, you would watch the lecture and you'd be like, "Oh, this makes sense. This makes sense." You leave, everything's gone, is that right? And sometimes there's been times where like I would just literally look on my phone for like a good 2 minutes. I would look up. I don't understand anything. All right. And that's like, you probably see memes about that. That is very true. There will be times where you don't understand what the lecturer has said. AI really changed a lot of things
Uh-huh.
for us. AI, that's a very big topic that a lot of people talk about during uni. I remember using it to teach myself. So I remember I made like these custom bots for AI. I paid for premium because I was like, it's just a worthy investment. And for each bot, I would give it all the lectures and all the like essentially the whole textbooks and stuff that I needed. And then for every topic, I'd say, hey, can you help me revise week 1? And if, for example, there was a revision lecture that had really important points, I would watch the revision lecture, but I would also send it the transcript to ChatGPT to make me some notes. So it's some people use it to cheat, some people use it to, but I would say it's a very good tool for learning. So, but yeah, that's what I used to do.
Now AI again, like you said, it's a big talk. Now AI in education, like you just mentioned, is it's incredible, especially if you use it right. Like for example, I for physics, everything's theory. In the sense, if you don't know the theory, forget about even doing the maths. You don't even know what the question's asking you if you don't know the theory,
Yeah,
right? And I
physics.
struggle with that because I'm not a theory person. I'm more mathematical. So what I do is I pull up ChatGPT and I put the voice section on and I just talk to it. I'm like, okay, quiz me on everything AQA, particles, and quantum, right? Ask me 50 questions from easy to difficult, and I'll explain it and tell me if I got anything wrong. And I just do that, and that is the only time I've scored good marks in the physics exams. That's the only time.
God, I remember physics. Physics was my worst performing. Not anything due to the teachers, because honestly, Mr. Sabri was amazing.
Yeah,
He was
teacher.
like, honestly, he left a dent on all of us. Like, he was genuinely an amazing teacher. It was just more or less like, as you said, the topic was just very theory based, and
Yeah.
I was mathematical. I remember there would be times where I created flashcards just out of like, to just try to learn the content. But it is, as you said, maybe with AI, it could have been a different story. But yeah, I would say in A level, I really don't know how it would have fitted in. But I would say probably like, as you said, create questioning you and creating these like past paper questions and stuff. So I would say, yeah, no, definitely.
Now, again, let's stay on the AI moment for a bit. Now, how does AI is looking in engineering? Like, is AI coming into design? Is AI coming into CAD? Is AI coming into CAM? Like, where is AI coming into mechanical engineering? Because AI is coming into every field, let's be honest here. So how is that looking into engineering?
I'm not sure how it is specifically within AI, within CAD or designing, but I know that it's definitely taking up a lot of space within coding. So essentially, from my experience, for example, I used a lot of AI to clean up my code or to understand what is going wrong and to even give me ideas of how I can implement a certain code or use a certain software. So my guess is it will probably be used a lot in that sense to create codes for people, code interpreters. So there would probably be within engineering, I would say for people who are not that coding savvy, AI will probably take that part of the job. But within design, it still requires creativity. I would say an AI still makes a lot of mistakes within calculations. So from my experience, it's gotten a lot of things wrong. So I've never really relied on it in terms of actually making those calculations. So I don't think AI has a space as of yet
Mhm.
within the design aspect of the engineering. But the other stuff like coding, possibly.
Fair enough. Now, Elon Musk, you might know this. He started his own AI, like Grok 4. He released his new model, and the data came for it, and it's being OpenAI DeepSeek by a lot. Like his models are significantly better. He bought 100,000 NVIDIA GPUs just off the bat. Elon Musk is just that type of guy. He would just do stuff, like instantaneous decisions, but it's backed up with his thinking. The thing with that is he's the closest to AGI, artificial general intelligence. Like when people say artificial intelligence, they think the robots that we see in movies and stuff. The AIs we're seeing, chatbots is a very small section of artificial intelligence. It's just large language models, right? It's just predictions, it's just weighted nodes, it's just neural networks. It's quite simple stuff, right? AGI is like a brain, like coded
Yeah.
brain. Right? We have not gone to that level, but by statistically, Elon Musk is I think like around 18% computational wise there.
Hmm.
And now, if AGI comes, then life, oh my goodness. If anybody's job consists of a computer, you can say goodbye to your job, basically. Like OpenAI released their Agent 1, and you can order food from ChatGPT by going to Agent 1. Agent 1 can do so much crazy stuff, and these companies, they don't release their best models to the public. So that means what they've released to us is a mini. The best ones are still kept back doors. So this scares me a little bit because I'm like, well, is there even a point of me doing this degree after a little bit?
Goodbye to our jobs.
Because we're a little bit more computer science. I'm trying to study maths and computer science in university. You're trying to study
That's in computer
maths
science.
and computer science as well. So we're a little bit like this, but then we're like, is it even worth it? If just Grok 4 open, guys, DeepSeek, all these like guys are gonna take our job.
That's such a valid concern. And honestly, all of us had that same thought when we first put our hands on ChatGPT. I remember like entering the first prompt ever in a classroom and I turned around to my classmate, I was like, are we cooked?
Yeah.
What's actually gonna happen? But the truth is, a lot of people felt the same way
Mm,
about AI or about the internet as they did with AI. Back in the day, there were a lot of things, a lot of type of jobs that we might not even think about, right? For example, there were proper people that, there were flight engineers. A flight engineer is a type of job where you might think, oh, that's just an aeronautical engineer. No, it was a person within the cockpit that essentially did all the other stuff within like he dealt with most of the, measurements and making sure the plane.
calculate.
Exactly. That job got erased.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be like, oh, then we might lose our jobs. I think what will probably happen is that there will be a period of time where, job scarcity is going to increase just like now. But I think there will be kind of a shift where people will then be doing other skills. Sorry. People will be doing other skills rather than doing the thing that AI took over. Like, for example, as you said, there was an AI agent. It could probably be a lot of data entering jobs might disappear, or a lot of trying to think, like a lot of presentation making and all of that. But I would say still there still is that human aspect that is required. I mean, you've seen ChatGPT. If you ask it to create something, it will make something completely and utterly weird, right? So you have to give it, there's probably going to be a new aspect within that person's job that rather they actually are taken over by AI, they'll just study, they'll look into prompt engineering where they'll
Yeah.
learn how to speak to AI and make sure that it's giving you the right output. So it's really we're in a time of change, right? A lot of things are changing very, very quickly, especially with how AI is growing. But I think it will probably have a similar effect as the internet did. It's going to be a global phenomenon as it is now, and it's just jobs are just going to be changing. Because let's think about it this way. Yeah, a lot of companies will decide to kind of downsize and then just use AI and all of that. That will happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to. But then there will start to become a demand of human interaction and a lot of these things is going to start to increase, because the truth is you cannot have a society with a bunch of unemployed people like higher than a certain percentage, or else the economy would essentially fail, because who's going to be buying certain products, who's going to be buying certain things. So believe it or not, companies as well as the global community doesn't really benefit from taking people's jobs.
Mhm.
And although it does definitely certainly feel like that, if there's more jobs, people are going to be spending more. And
Mhm.
so obviously that's where the
Yeah.
balance will start to eventually. So it might tip over a little bit to a bit of, AI being taking over, but it's going to start to balance back.
What's like the coolest like machine you've seen, or something that really cool? Like for me personally, I would say the coolest I've seen is like a flight simulator. The big ones in BA, they're really cool, especially when they start moving crazy. That's cool. But what have you seen, Parker?
Within the university, or is in like in general?
In general?
In general, the coolest machine I've seen, I would say, is definitely a plane engine, a jet engine.
Yes.
It is one of the most complex pieces of engineering or machinery that I've ever seen. And it's just, there's so much components going into it and how it's actually built. And then just being to be able to essentially be made into such a small form factor, relatively speaking, it's amazing. And when you they do give you a slight insight on what it actually is within an engineering degree, but
Uh,
there's so much more, because I would say hundreds, if not thousands of people are working on that one engine alone. And what you've probably noticed is that within an engineering team, it's not just one person working on one device or one person working on an engine. It's really thousands of people that are working on very small like parts of the engine. And then there's one project manager that is working and managing a group of things that are working together. And then that's
got you.
just how you just go up the hierarchy until you'll then see a
Pyramid
general.
scheme.
No, well, we're not selling, knives or Avon, so it's not really a pyramid scheme, but but yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. Basically, one guy is basically looking over everything, and then you have subcategories, and yeah, man,
Exactly.
it's a good way of doing things. If one guy was making a whole engine, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think I'd
GG.
want to get into that plane, that's
Really,
for
yeah, but
sure.
Can you explain how an internal combustion engine works in
oh,
In 60 seconds, I can summarize it to a very crazy thing: suck, squeeze, bang, and blow. So
what?
so I remember our lecturer telling us that. So it's suck, squeeze, bang, and blow. So essentially the engine, if we're talking about an average engine, it sucks air in, it
Okay.
then compresses it, and while compresses it, it injects some fuel. If you probably know a spark plug, then it sparks that compressed mixture of air and fuel. Then that, blows up, and that obviously pushes down the piston, and then it repeats the same thing over and over again. And that is all connected through kind of a rod in the middle that kind of does the same thing at different parts of the engine. If it's a four-cylinder engine, each part of the engine is doing a different phase at a different time, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Fair
Fair
enough.
enough. That goes around and far. That was a that's suck, squeeze, hang
Got
and
blow.
blow.
Yep.
Fair enough. Now I've seen some things in internal combustion, like especially in engine. The cylinder, a guy was putting the cylinder in, and then he put a hair, and the cylinder was not going in. And then he took the hair out, and the cylinder went in. Is it that precise?
Yeah, that's why a lot of engines or anything, the best it needs lubrication. If it doesn't have some type of oil or grease, then it's not gonna fall through. So yeah, it is a lot of, especially the precise, like especially the race car engines, they need to be that accurate, that, as you said, machined, because if they're not that machined, then they might lose a bit of power, or it might not
Mhm.
be as efficient. And from what I remember, if there's air, as you said, or there's space for something to go through over time, over cycles, over a long period of time, it's going to keep on. Think about it. If you get a material and you heat it up and then you cool it down and then you heat it up and then you cool it down, over time it might produce some problems. So I think that's why it needs to be that, I guess accurately engineered.
Fair enough. Now, before we go to like a really quick fire round, I just want to come back to a little bit of the AI part.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've there's this new well, two things. There was this report about jobs in 2025 and like how it was projected, and it's projected that 80 million people globally are gonna lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence, right? However, 180 million new jobs are going to be created because of artificial intelligence. And as long as you keep that in mind, I think everybody should just keep trying to upskill themselves, right?
Yeah.
Keep up with the latest news, keep up with the latest tech, Just make sure you have even the brief little. Maybe you talk to someone at a networking event, they see that you know a little bit latest stuff, and maybe they're doing something with it. You don't know where one thing leads to another. Second thing I would like to say is this new paper that came out, AI 2027. I don't know if you've read it. Oh my, it took me 2 weeks to read it. It got released like a month ago. Is that the author is Daniel Coco something, but he's a really good researcher. He predicted chatbots and like OpenAI a year before they actually came, and him and a really, really profound group of researchers, they came up with this paper, and it's like a month by month track of how it's gonna look like by 2027. Let me just let you know, it's very scary. Very scary. And it's like I'm not gonna, of course, like blindly trust it. I'm not gonna, but they're really good. Like they're really good. You have to take their word a little bit seriously. Yeah. So I would recommend, it's on YouTube. There's a video as well. AI 2027. Really good paper to watch, especially if you want to be scared. Really good. It's really good for that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I definitely agree. It's a very scary world that we're essentially going into because we don't know how capable AI is going to become. And it's, as you said, if we can have a look at it, it's very similar to an exponential scale. The technology is just evolving exponentially.
So
I mean, some people can make whole movies if they really wanted to, and they got the prompts to a perfect degree.
I watched a short film made by AI. Okay, faces and like the lip could be improved, but the physics of everything else, it was on point. It was actually quite good. It
I
was
mean,
25.
memes have gotten taken over by AI. I mean,
Yeah.
I see some crazy stuff out there. I'll it's hilarious. But I would say you're absolutely right. Upscaling or upskilling is really essential. If someone comes in and says, "Listen, this is AI. I'm not gonna take up any more skills. I'm not gonna learn. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna evolve." Yeah, they're gonna lose their job, and they're not gonna be. They're gonna essentially just be replaced by AI. But if you take the initiative, as you said, to learn how to do something, or as you said, learn an extra skill or learn how to actually use AI to do your job, but you're kind of steering it, all these different skills, yeah, 100% you will be an asset because although AI is very, it's a great tool, it's exactly that. It's still a tool. And someone will still need to be steering that ship for those tools to kind of produce, effective things. So yeah, definitely.
Finally, as we wrap up this segment, we're gonna go through quick fire questions. I'll ask one question, then he'll ask one question.
Is it mechanical engineering related?
It's not difficult. This is easy. This is more personal. It's relaxed.
All right, let's go ahead.
If you weren't a mechanical engineer, what would you be?
Uh, I would. God, that's probably. I wanted to be a pilot, so I guess that could be
Okay.
something. Yeah, I wanted to be a pilot.
Pilot's a good field as well. Some of my friends want to go into pilot, but it's difficult. It's very
100%.
expensive.
That was the push factor. It was the cost.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive field to do. I think some companies do apprenticeships, but
Like BA has a speedbird said thing, but it's so competitive. Every year,
Yeah, of
5,000
course.
applicants, and only I don't even think it's in the double digits. I'll be honest.
Yeah, so
That's how many they take in. So it is really competitive, but everybody should aspire for their dreams. If you're really passionate about piloting, you probably will become a pilot.
that's
for
very
long enough.
true. That's very true. If
Yeah,
you put into
that's
it 100%.
What is the most underrated invention in the world? It could be like ball bearings, fryer, spring.
I would say air fryer gets enough attention, so it's not really underrated. The most underrated. That's such a hard question because there's so many things that are going through my head right now. I wouldn't say they're underrated, but God, I don't know.
Maybe underappreciated.
Underappreciated. Lifts.
No,
surprising.
fair enough. I don't think. Yeah. I don't think we
It's
think about
not
lifting.
exactly, but the engineering that is behind a lift, you've probably studied it in A-level maths, but you're also going to study a bit in engineering. And yeah, it's so underappreciated. People just walk in, press the button, and it takes them to a certain level.
Yeah.
But there's so much intricacies going on, and there's so many safety things that are safety components that are within the lift that a lot of people just, don't really pay attention to. So I guess lifts.
You know what this like really reminds me of? Not even reminds, like just makes me think how we don't even think about stuff around us.
Mm-hmm.
Like think how much like mechanical, just engineered stuff you see every single day, and you don't even bat an eye of how it's invented.
Exactly.
Like some guy spent probably his whole life perfecting it, designing it, making a whole team, and yeah, just press it, just use it.
I guess
But I
another
think that
thing could be a plug. A plug,
Fuck.
the way it's engineered, if you probably notice it, that
yeah,
there you go.
yeah,
One side is more protrude than the other, and that's to kind of prevent someone from electrocuting themselves. So
yeah.
it's, as you said, so many details, so much time is spent in one thing on a product, and we just overlook it.
But I think that's also a beauty about engineering and manufacturing as well. Like how much like perfection you need and how much
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say if you have OCD, it might be actually a good field to go in. Actually, just precision is a lot. Next question: what's one tool or piece of equipment you can't live without,
Tool or
or equipment?
equipment, as in to do a job or to do something.
Let's say a job related to mechanical engineering.
Computer, definitely. You can't
Yeah.
live without a computer. You have to
How
have.
much time do you spend on a computer in like mechanical engineering related jobs?
Probably majority of the time. Everything is done through a computer. I would
Fair
say,
enough.
a computer or a phone or whatever, but essentially a computer, a computing device is
Yeah.
100% required for any type of job nowadays, but engineering definitely needs it.
What is your favorite science or engineering related piece of media? So either a book, a
Podcasts. It
documentary,
could be
a
anything.
movie, a game, whatever.
Okay.
You can't say beyond the books. I'm sorry, but you can't say beyond
Yeah,
the
you
books.
can't.
Oh, you took my idea right in my head. I would say there is a YouTuber that I used to watch that explains the concepts a lot. I'm trying to remember the name. It's not really giving a good idea, but I think it was something engineering. I can look it up actually.
There's a lot of good YouTubers out there. Mine personally, and I've said this many times, Star Talk, like by Neil deGrasse Tyson, I enjoy that man so much. He's just a very entertaining
Very
spokesperson.
entertaining.
You get me? I enjoy watching his stuff. What else? Three Blue, One Brown. Three Blue, One Brown's very good as well, especially for
I
like
think if I remember, it's engineering mindset. I think it was that
mindset.
the engineering
I look
mindset.
into that. Yeah, we'll
I
see.
remember, the engineering mindset. It was a like a YouTuber that essentially explains these different things, different concepts, different theories, like a DC motor, an AC motor, things like that, in a very, very simplified way. And I remember I used it throughout my, I guess, studying career, studies, academia.
Fair enough. Who is your engineering idol or inspiration? Like, who do you look up to when it comes to the engineering world?
It's a very interesting question. I don't really look up to any.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Yeah, but there
to
had to be someone who really had like an effect. It could be a person as well, like who really had an effect of you in this field.
Really, to be fair, there wasn't really someone that I can pinpoint. There was someone during my A-level career that really was helpful. It was someone that I just mentioned previously. It was Mr. Sabri. I remember I got an unconditional offer from a uni, and I remember he was upset. He was the only teacher that was slightly upset. So I go up to him and I asked him, why did you, like, he said that he realized if I was to have an unconditional offer, then I wouldn't put in the effort into study.
Yeah,
And I remember I took that as a challenge or as like an inspiration. And I remember putting in as much effort as I could. And a lot of people called me crazy, but I declined the unconditional offer for a conditional one. I didn't even set it as
yeah.
my, what's it called? Insurance. Because I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that up as a challenge. So I remember he was very, very inspirational, very influential during my A-level period of studies.
Mrs. Sabri sounds exactly like you're explaining it. We have him as our
Yeah.
physics teacher as well. Even he talked about unconditional offers, where he's like he doesn't like unconditional offers, and it
Mm-hmm.
was exactly for that reason. But I think good teachers literally make or break your career,
100%.
man. For example, from maths, we have Mr. Na as a
Mr.
teacher.
Nata,
I
yeah.
don't know if you Yeah, Mr. Now.
He's
Yeah,
great.
he's such a wonderful teacher. He's such a jolly person, makes jokes, gives candy. I enjoy his lesson. I want to
100%.
be there. And
He
I think,
he was like a lecturer. I would say the best thing that describes the way I felt during his lessons is that he gave you the independence that you needed. Like he did prepare us for how lecturers felt. I remember he would jokingly, and I remember this was all jokes because at the end he always complimented us. But I remember he would be teaching a concept and he would call it, "Oh, this is all Mickey Mouse stuff." That's
yeah,
something
Yeah,
he
he
still, he
said
still
that.
says that. He
that's
says that.
something that I
But
remember from his
he says
days.
stuff like, now we're going to do the real A level stuff. Like, we haven't been doing anything difficult yet.
And then he would go through all that concept and then say, "Yeah, this is easy. This is Mickey Mouse stuff. You already did this before." And we would
Yeah.
all be looking at each other like, "This is not Mickey Mouse stuff." Generally,
Uh,
yes, exactly. Honestly, amazing teachers really do make or break, your academic paths because I remember after every exam we used to go into the science office, which, well, not the new one, but like in the old building, and we would go in and I remember after every exam we would tell him how it felt and he would discuss it and he would talk about it. So it was always that kind of you felt supported. So if I was to pinpoint, I would say a mentor within my academia, it would be him, probably.
Now, what is one engineering concept that you wish everyone understood better?
Um, Aerodynamics, definitely. Or airflow.
I would say, I would say forces. I think we would have less car crashes if people understood how actually a car works, man.
Yeah, yeah. But I would
Why are you accelerating that much?
no, no. I would say yeah, that forces as well. I think that's because with the reason I said airflow is because a lot of people, I think a lot of people fall for these scams in terms of air conditioners and stuff, and especially during the summer, I see all of these ads about these miniature ACs that can cool down your whole room in a matter of minutes.
Yeah,
Not true. Um, and so I generally think, in my opinion, there should just be a general kind of engineering common sense course that is embedded in someone's high school classrooms because I think so many people fall for so many scams and as you said, some people accelerate or too crazily or some people are just not don't understand because I remember that the main thing that I drive around and from one of the things that I always note is stopping distance. I remember
yeah,
learning about it during GCSE physics and that, if you're tired, your stopping distance is not is doubles and if the surface and friction and as you said, so
yeah.
definitely I think there definitely needs to be some type of common sense engineering taught within GCSEs or even A levels.
Fair enough. Now, tea, coffee, or energy drinks?
Depends on the time of the year. It's a seasonal
Time of
thing.
the year.
Yeah, yeah, it's a seasonal thing. Exam season, Red Bull. Energy
Okay.
drinks on a day to day. If you need to get in the morning, it's coffee. In the evening, it's tea. But obviously, I'm Moroccan, so Moroccan tea is always superior.
For you, tea, coffee.
I'm a tea person.
I would say as well. I don't. I know energy drinks work. I just don't wanna drink energy drinks just because I don't like the fact that my body's doing stuff that I'm not in control of. I guess like that's the only
I
kind of
I would say with energy drinks, it's kind of a last hope type of thing. And so many students do that as well. Like I remember I think it was during the all-nighter, I drank a total of 5 energy drinks because you just needed to stay awake. I do
yeah,
not recommend it. I do not say that you need to follow the same thing. But yeah, no, I would say, as you said, energy, it depends on the time. Energy drinks for exam
yeah.
seasons, coffee for a day to day, but teas to like relax and have a conversation and talk and stuff.
Another good thing about tea is tea gives you like a little bit longer lasting energy,
Mm.
Yeah.
while energy drinks is a spike, crash, gone.
Yeah,
You get me?
exactly. You got
That's
to
Me
time it right with
personally,
that crash.
there. It is. That
me personally, energy drinks don't work on me. Like
is it.
I think one time I drank about the equivalent of 4, 5, 6, 7 drinks of
Okay,
cans of
okay.
energy drinks right after I went to sleep.
Cannot be good for you.
Next day, my heart was just like it was
Yeah.
just squeezing. Yeah,
Oh my god, bro! I don't even think that much caffeine is like
It's not
legal.
safe. It's not. It's not advisable.
Yeah. You good?
yeah.
You right?
I'm alive now.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Are there more wheels in the world, or are there more
No,
doors in the world?
I remember that question being asked a long time ago. I think there's a lot of. Oh, that's a very good question.
Whatever you choose, we'll argue with it.
Some doors have wheels.
what?
Some doors have. Sliding doors.
sliding doors, but as well as the very big doors that need to, like vault doors and stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
So I would say wheels.
Wheels, doors. I'll be completely honest. I
Me
agree with
personally,
you.
I think with the
Yeah, I think I agree with you as well. Unless we're talking about doors in the sense, if you count drawers as well, things get iffy. Then it's
Yeah, what is your definition of a wheel? Is it
yeah.
skateboards as well? Does that count? Do they have wheels? Are you talking about proper tires within cars? Or are you talking about like wheels can be anything. They could be, as you said, within sliding doors.
It could be a bearing.
Exactly,
bearings.
exactly.
Bearings could be wheels.
Yeah, so I'd say
Yeah,
wheels.
I think wheels is a clear winner. Probably someone in the comments gonna argue not,
Yeah.
but fair enough. We can answer that later. I think it was an absolute pleasure to have you around,
Thank you.
and it's good to speak to someone who was in our basically.
Yeah, enough
He's our future, and we're basically your past, right? And it was a wonderful talk. Like,
Thank you for having
mechanical
me.
engineering.
It was amazing.
Mechanical engineering is one of the like best engineering you could go to, and for the people watching, test everything out, test the waters, see what you like, right? You have people like Rayan who, amazing at mechanical engineering, computer scientists, jobless. You have a lot of stuff happening in the world, right? But really enjoy your time not studying,
Yes,
enjoy your time studying, and actually enjoy your time with your friends and family members, because this time's gonna pass.
exactly.
Every single time's gonna pass, and you just want to cherish it, enjoy it, and see it not as, oh my goodness, I have to study. See it, oh my goodness, I get to study, and just look at the result, man. You're gonna be free for so long after year 13. If you don't even go to uni, some people take gap years. Enjoy this time, right? And I think that's where we end it off. And really appreciate you coming here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
It was a
coming to
pleasure.
on the books, and thank you guys for watching. Take care.